Welcome back to the Kilted Kickoff. Well, the Six Nations is over, and we're going to talk about everything that happened, all the goods, all the bads, and everything else in between. We've got some under 20s because there was some good stuff from the under 20s. We've got some club rugby, and joining me, as always, is my lovely co host, Dan. How you getting on, my guy?
Yeah, back down to reality now. Murray, I'm not sure if it's a slight hangover or just a disappointing the fact that we finished fourth again, uh,
Mm.
or a
A,
mixture of
dis-
the
a
two.
disappointing hangover.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm really,
I
if
mean,
anything, grab one of my beers left from the fridge just to get myself going again.
fair enough. Let's just dive straight into it. Final game on Super Saturday. Scotland versus France. Now, it was already going to be a hell of a task the way France were cooking, and they've
Yeah,
revitalized this team under the 7-1 split. Love it or hate it, it works. Evidently, it works. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, we played well in the first half. I truly believe we gave everything we could in that
yeah.
first half.
I don't actually have a problem with our defeat to France. I think it was more of a. I just think we were beaten by the better team. I don't have that same sort of bitterness or the what ifs in my head the same way as I did with England or Ireland.
Okay.
When it came to the France game, it's a bit like better team won on the day. I think with the
Mm.
other two defeats, with England, we know we should have won. And then with Ireland, we didn't turn up. But with France, I feel like we did turn up. We were just beaten by the better side.
It
Uh,
happens. That's how sport works sometimes, yeah.
yeah. I mean, like even those two big results, and I'm sure that we'll get into them in a bit. But like I'm thinking, even if Tom Jordan's try that was ruled off didn't get ruled off, and that yellow card that was definitely a red card was given as a red card, even if
Mm.
those two bits went our way, I still don't think we would have won that game. I mean, we'd have been tighter on the score sheet for sure,
Hmm.
but I just
Okay.
think with the injuries we have away in Paris and that, just better team won on the day. That's all it. As simple as that.
Fair enough. I mean, we're going to have to talk about the yellow card that should have been a red. How, on what planet is that a yellow card and nothing more? So
It's
let's
not, and
run.
I'm going to stop you
So,
right there. Look, White is tackled to the floor. The referee has blown his whistle. Now, there's no rugby going on, so there can't be any mitigation. He has just lost it and launched himself at Ben White, and it's a headbutt straight to the face while the game stopped. So it's violent play. Oh, it doesn't matter if he connected or not, or if he didn't get a nosebleed or something. He still attempted to hurt someone or to attack someone. If you swung a punch and only your bottom two fingers connected, you would go, my, it's okay. You didn't really land a proper blow. Tripping over my own words. You wouldn't say, nah, you didn't land a proper blow, so you're all good. No, get him off. Like
uh, the
they should
fact
get
that
over it.
the fact that went up for bunker review originally is a joke. Like
This,
the fact that they're looking at it, right, and this is you could hear it even on the highlights when you go back. You can quite clearly hear the referee go, right. So 15 blue, Thomas Ramos pushed Ben White to the ground. That
uh-huh.
was unnecessary, right? So Thomas Ramos is already in the doghouse for that alone.
Yeah,
Yeto Malvaca then grabs Ben White on the ground and throws a headbutt at him, catches him
yeah,
clean in the face. The game got stopped, like you said. He was off the ball. Like, how's that not red? On what planet? Evidently this one, but the world's gone mad.
yeah.
The fact
It's
that Thomas Ramos didn't get yellow carded for an unnecessary shove, and the fact that Pierre Mavaka never got a red card, to me, is an absolute disgrace. Regardless of the result,
a
that's a
disgrace.
goal. Yeah.
He I think he'll. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get cited for that.
Oh, well, the French are good at getting
Not if
stuff
he doesn't
first.
get cited. Um, but France always seem to get away with stuff on the ref, man. It's
They do.
just
But, and again, and I don't like being this guy, it's creeping around more when it's a Scotland-France fixture. Look at last year and look at this
What
year.
was that held up?
But you know what I mean? Two very massive decisions that could potentially have affected. Well, last year definitely would have changed the result.
Uh-huh.
But like massive factors in a game that could turn the game on its head.
No,
And they're both, let's be honest, and this isn't as Scottish people saying this, it is the wrong call both times.
yeah. Now, just to go back, and this is really what boils my piss about this, right? Though you can hear on the ref mic the linesman saying that they think it's a red card. You can hear the ref on the pitch saying he thinks it's a red card.
So
So
why
the
not do it?
fact that they've sent it to the bunker is look, I like the bunker idea, but when there's stuff that is so clear like that, the ref should just give the call on the pitch. I
I agree.
mean, don't. That's just a way of shunning responsibility off yourself. Like, nah, someone else can deal with
Yep,
that.
yep. It's
And,
no, I agree, and I think that's what it's now becoming to. I don't think that's what the bunker was initially brought in to
no,
do, but now it is coming like I don't know. It's been 5 minutes since we started talking about this discussion. I'm just going to send them off, and you could check it out yourself.
you know, tell what I would change the bunker system. I would tweak it ever so slightly to make it work. Do you know how when you score a try, you get try or no try, and
Mm.
the ref goes, "Oh, my on-field decision was a try," so they have to find clear and obvious to overrule the decision, and the wording of it's very important. I would
Mm.
change the bunker system to the referee has to make the decision. The
On-field decision
the
is red. Can you
on-field
tell?
decisions red, on-field decisions yellow. So every decision, every card will go to the bunker, regardless. But if he says yellow, it's the TMO's job then to find something. Well, the bunker's job to find something clear and obvious to overrule the referee's decision. And if he does, he stops the game and pulls it back. So look, I want you to take a look at this.
Mm.
I think you've missed this on the play. This is why I think you should upgrade it. And that means the referee always has the on-field decision, and it has to be clear and obvious to overrule rather the red card or the yellow card.
Mhm. No, I completely agree with that, and I would love the idea.
Yeah. And
100%.
that way you're probably going to get the right call. Um, and if it is a wrong call, the bunker's got 10 minutes to go have a look at it and overrule the decision.
What was it came up when it came when they announced that it was a yellow, and it comes up the reason on the screen? Was it like there's no cynical play?
No,
Pardon?
I think they said it was not cynical play. They said it wasn't a high degree of danger.
You've
If
pinned
I
the boy
remember,
to the ground and stuck your big head in his face.
yeah, yeah, a hooker going after a scrum half.
Good one,
So
big man. Well done, you. Pick on someone your own size, you prat. Sorry.
Jamie
But
Ritchie getting flashbacks to when he got punched in the face.
yeah, but again,
It,
it's always something with Scotland France.
uh, it's just, yeah.
Mm. Anyway, the Blair Kinghorn, the Tom Jordan try.
Yep.
That broke my heart because again, watching it live before they checked it, you're like, oh, what an effort, boys! What a way to keep that
Yeah.
ball alive. And then the TMO'd it, and I'm like, did we? And I was convinced we were getting like penalised for blocking. Like, oh,
Uh,
did Dancy Graham overshoot his line or something? No,
I watched that
Blair
back
Kinghorn's in
so
touch,
many
and I'm
times.
like, yeah, I'm
I
like,
don't,
oh,
yeah,
hmm,
no way. I still don't see it going out. Like, even just before we came off air, to remind myself, I brought the highlights up on my computer and watched it again. And yeah, it was just, man.
was it his
How
elbow?
long did they take looking at it? Or did they just go, nah, he was in touch?
I think they looked at it once from the really up close angle, and they were, oh, his elbow hit the line. No try. Mm, mm, mm. Okay then. But then again, and I'll keep repeating myself on this scenario. How many times did you check last year when you can quite clearly see the balls on the ground? I'm not fickle, I promise. But it's when you start looking back, and it's always that same fixture. Like It's not fun anymore.
No,
I already know there's going to be something stupid next year. I don't know if it's going to affect Scotland, but it's going to be a talking point, and it's just going to take overshadow the game. And
I have thought this for ages. Like to win Six Nations, not only do you need the players, you have to have a good team, you have to have a bit of luck go on your side. And that's something we don't seem to have had for years. And I
no,
think if there's any team in World Rugby that is due a bit of luck, I feel like it's us.
yep.
Like, I'd like to have played a game like the way England sort of crawled over the line with France and Scotland, to have not played great and just slithered over the line. Like, I'm sick of, hearing magnificent in defeat, Braveheart Scotland put up a valiant fight, but was just overcome at the end. I'd like to hear a slimy Scotland slithers over the line, you know, just plays crap, but gets a big win over the line when they really needed it. Um,
And get all the comments like, "Oh, you got lucky." Yeah, but we won. So
yeah, I mean, we spent years and years and years being unlucky. I'd like it just once for the luck to come on our side.
absolutely, I couldn't agree more. But and my final topic on the game, I want to say, there's not really much else to really talk about. Like Darcy Graham
Mhm.
scored a great try. Him and Duhan are now on the same score, so the autumn just got a bit more interesting. That's great. The Finn Russell debacle, shall we call it? Now,
I'm
again, I'm sick
people
of it as
who
well.
if the people who are going to bash Russell are going to bash Russell. It's all they seem to do. They've got it in their head that he's a crap player, so any mistake that Finn Russell ever makes gets put under the microscope. We were playing a better side than us,
Mhm.
and we had a magician on the park in the name of Finn Russell. But the only way Scotland would have had any chance of winning that game was by him having to force something. As much as I
And
love like Tom Jordan or Adam Hastings, if you take Finn Russell out and you put someone with a more conservative style of rugby in at 10, Scotland lose that game by 40.
Wales, look at the Wales game. When Finland came off look, and again, yes, we won the game, but that's only because of how far we were ahead, I believe. I feel if we were one or two scores short when Finn came off, Wales would have won that game.
Uh-huh.
But
I
this is what
totally.
I'm saying. Finn Russell played great. He got all his kicks in. So you're
Mhm.
criticising his kicking. He's now 100% in the last two games since he buggered it against England. And it's
Mhm.
still not good enough because he went for an out the back pass to Darcy Graham, who's one of the quickest, most electric wingers, not in just in the Six Nations, on the planet.
Yep.
If Darcy's hand was up a second, maybe not even a second earlier, Darcy is gone. I'm not saying it's going to be a try, but the gap he would have got off that little cheeky pass would have been unreal. The communication was off by this much. Again, that's not just down to Finn. That is also on Darcy's end as well. You have to be completely linked. And it just so happened, Romain Ntamak, who, let's be honest, he's not the slowest of lads. He's quite a
No.
pacey boy. Had enough time to go, thank you very much, here's the ball, and just happened to have Louis Barry, who is an absolute pace merchant and is going to be generational. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, 21 tries, 19 caps, 18 tries is outlandish. Nobody is going to catch him
Nope.
on free
And
space.
it's just the
But
way it
again,
is.
it's all Finn Russell's fault. This is what I don't know what your comments have been like, but I put up the review video yesterday from the game, and all I was getting was Finn Russell cost Scotland again. So much for the Maverick, so much for Messi. Again, the Messi thing was taken out of context. He even said that himself. And
Mhm.
oh, Scotland would be so much better without Finn Russell. Finn Russell needs to retire. Finn Russell won't be a lion. Listen to my words now. Fuck off.
Finn Russell will be a lion. And I saw someone post something today is I'd like to see how any other British 10 would do behind that Scottish pack. Do you think Prendergast would be nearly effective
Sorry,
if you put
sorry.
him behind the Scottish pack? Finn
Sorry, that
Russell
was
has to do what he can working with a lightweight pack. Right? You put Finn Smith behind that Scottish pack, he's not doing anywhere close to what Finn Russell has got. Scotland, I've changed on this. Say, oh yeah, it's a golden generation for Scotland. It is and it isn't. It is for the backs. It's not for the forwards. Like we've got one or two great forwards, like Schumann and Xander Fagerson are undoubtedly great players, but
well.
for this
That's
campaign, for the rest of the forwards, we were really lightweight in comparison. So it's not like we're dominating, getting front football.
I think I get where you're coming from. I think people need to first of all just get a grip. first first point is just get a grip because I hate the player bashing, and I know we don't work. I know we do TikTok and we're in the media eye a lot and blah blah blah. I even on reviews or like podcasts, I don't like bashing players. I feel like yeah, you can be like, oh, not sure about that performance. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was Finn's best game. Finn's had better games,
Mhm.
but the fact that like one little blip that let's be honest, I think if that was any other team, we could have salvaged it real quick.
Mm.
It just how happened. It was the two quicker players and the best team in the competition that capitalised and went, see you later. Like if that was England, we could have caught them.
Yeah, look, people have made up their mind about Finn Russell. Like most people recognise that he's a fantastic generational player. I think 80% of the rugby population get that. 20% of them don't get it, and they're not willing to change their mind. So it's never going to change. It's just they like to point it out. I get what you mean about not wanting to criticise, because I feel a bit weird about that. Like sometimes
There is a
you
where
feel
you
like you
there's a
have
place you
to,
can do
but
it. Yeah, there's also ways of doing it without being, and pardon my French, a complete bell end.
yeah.
There's ways
So look,
about it.
let's move away from Finn Russell, right? Because it is what it is. Both of us think that
I love you, Finn.
good
Here.
point. Some of our listeners might disagree with us. Another player who I thought was so good against France and so good this campaign and doesn't get enough credit is Blair Kinghorn.
Haha. Yes, Blair has been fantastic all campaign.
Yeah,
100%.
he is
And again,
such
like,
a
you
good player.
said it last week. People keep saying like Hugo Keenan is starting for the Lions. No, he ain't. No.
Blair Kinghorn is twice the player that Hugo Keenan is. If Leinster went and signed Blair Kinghorn tomorrow, Hugo Keenan's pushed out of his position straight away.
Very much.
Like,
Yeah,
hold on,
yeah,
let's take
but Blair Kinghorn does
Toulouse sign
himself.
Hugo Keenan, take bias away from it. Let's say Hugo Keenan goes to Toulouse, right? Um,
I
he's
mean,
not
Toulouse are
taking,
still a great team. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So look, Hugo Keenan is also a phenomenal player. I'm not saying that he's bad, but
Mm.
Kinghorn's just for gravy.
Yes, he's just came into his own at Toulouse as well. So, I,
Yeah,
sorry, I think my child just woke up. I don't know if you could hear him. I apologize if you did.
it's all right.
Um,
But yeah, so good. Um, and he's going to be the starting line for me. And
Absolutely.
he booted Ramos out of a spot when he went to Toulouse.
No,
Um, you know, no pushover, Kinghorn.
nope, absolutely not. Although I'm going to stick with Scotland. I'm going to stick against France. But I'm going to move it up to the under 20s because that was a hell of a performance by those young lads.
Uh-huh.
Considering no one gave us even a sniff of the under 20s can put on a show against France in France on Friday night. Yeah, they can. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And I know I've said it to you, I've said it probably to you more than anyone else because you speak that often,
Mm-hmm.
but the future is very bright for Scottish rugby. Like I am going to start with the main man, who we've all seen us try, Freddie Douglas.
Uh-huh.
Just absolutely unreal. Just out muscling, sidestepping, another bash off try.
Yeah, bouncing
Ruben,
players all out the way. Ruben Logan. Sorry, go on. Go on.
yeah, yeah,
Go on.
I was about to say that because I know that you like your big boy back row,
Uh-huh.
and Ruben Logan, 19 years old, 6'5", 115 kilos. What are you feeding them? What the
A lot
hell?
of people can't comprehend how heavy this is, and this is something we discovered on the phone. Ruben Logan at 19 is already heavier than both Matt Fagerson and Jack Dempsey.
Yeah, yeah,
He's bigger than them
and he's
already.
tall, and he's taller.
Yeah, give him another. Like he's still 9 years away from peaking yet, Ruben Logan. So he's only going to get bigger
One
and better
thing, yeah,
for the next 9 years, maybe longer. Like
you're
a
gonna have.
forward, a back row forward, you're 28 to 32. That's the sweet spot for them.
Mm.
Um, it's not like
Yeah,
a back that sort of they go downhill fairly quickly. Forwards, got a longer lifespan on them. They take longer to mature as well. So yeah,
he is quite chirpy though. I have about like just because you're on about maturity, he is very chirpy. He loves to
I
get
mean
stuck in.
physical. I mean physical maturity. It takes a while to get there.
Oh no,
Mental
I meant
maturity. I don't think we ever do.
okay. Yeah, so Freddie Douglas, outstanding. Ruben Logan, keep your eyes peeled on him. Ollie Blythe Lafferty, again, he's
Mm,
still only 18 years old. But again, like we don't have tight head props, really. Like Xander Ferguson proved that. That yes,
yeah,
Will Hard's on the bench. Xander Ferguson played the full 80.
which is
Mental. Who else stood out to me? Jack
who
Brown, Phil,
who was that one who scored? I think he's a winger. I didn't recognise him. He has a
Cammy
ginger
Van
mullet.
Veek, Cameron Van Veek.
Yeah.
Oh, and the comments will hear the surname and oh, another South African. Yes, he is South African to a Scottish mum, and he's Scottish educated and plays for Scotland under 20s. So he's ours, and he's ginger. So
Yeah, we've got good old ginger. Okay, cool. Because I
Yeah,
don't
Cammy Van
watch
Veek was great.
the 20s, but I did watch the highlights. And I did watch a little bit of that game as well.
Did you see the high level IQ from Matthew Irwin at 10? Like in the death of the game. So it was 45-37 to France. We knew a try wasn't going to do anything. And with about 20 seconds to go, Matthew Irwin just bang, knocks it, beautifully struck drop goal. So Scotland get the retake. That's
Get
brilliant.
again. Even though they did still lose the game, they were in a position where even if they'd scored a try with 20 seconds left, they still would have lost the game. They'd already had the bonus point secured. So yeah, at that point, you take the drop goal, you're
That's
getting
it.
possession back with another chance to go, with a chance to actually win the game, and that's just really, really good play. So I'd love to see him be brought under Finn Russell's wing just to
Mhm.
train with them. I'm quite excited for
Yeah,
this summer tour more than the normal summer tour, just knowing that a lot of Scots are going to be away with the Lions, right?
should
Um,
be. Should be.
and then the ones that aren't going with the Lions but are good players, you probably find like a lot of the Glasgow boys that don't make the Lions will just be given the summer off. And because we've got a under 20s for the first time in a while looking quite good, to
Mhm.
see a lot of them get pulled through at once together
Yeah,
is quite exciting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, sticking with the under 20s because the World Championships this summer. It is every summer though.
Uh-huh.
It's not a 4 year thing. It's in Italy, which also for the development of the game, I love that. I love the fact it's in Italy. The groups have been announced, and on paper, I don't like it. But the way these boys are performing, I'm like, you know what? Anything's possible. Have you seen our group for the under 20s World Championship?
No,
Right.
who,
So
who,
there's so I'm gonna watch your reaction in live time pretty much. So it's Scotland,
yep.
England,
Who,
Australia,
all right.
and our breeding pool, South Africa. So we get to watch both our teams play. So there you go.
Oh,
That's a horrible group. I read it. I went, ah, that's not nice at all. Why'd you do that?
that's rough.
That's horrible. And then like
That is
Wales have like Spain, Fiji. I'm like, how?
not fair. another World Cup draw where all the good teams are one end of the
To
draw.
be fair, to be fair, the under 20s is a different kettle of fish because we weren't in the World Championship last year. We were in the World Trophy, which, yes, we won very comfortably. We were smashing teams 120 odd nil. I was there. It was really weird to watch. But
Mhm.
it is a tier two competition. You're playing Samoa, USA, Hong Kong, Holland. These are not big heavy hitters in the rugby world. You,
Uh-huh.
you don't have to be a diehard fan to know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we smashed them, and the reward is you're in the rugby championship the following year, the World
Mm-hmm.
Rugby Championship. Sorry. So
Let's hope we
we're
don't
playing
go straight back down again.
probably. And all honesty, no, yeah, and all honesty, probably. But the joys of the under 20 World Championship compared to like a Rugby World Cup,
Uh-huh.
even if you lose every game in the pool, you're still getting games in the knockouts. But it's like 11th, 12th playoff and da 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 da.
Right. Okay, I get you.
So you can always play for something, even though it might not be the trophy.
Yeah,
But
you've got a game for pride at the end.
like I don't know, push for seventh, lads. That'd be a
Hmm.
great achievement. I think that'd be awesome. I didn't say fifth there. We did finish fifth in the Six Nations, but you do have to consider Australia, South Africa, Argentina, New Zealand.
Did anybody, when they talk about Ireland's amazing school system conveyor belt of players, did anybody have Ireland get the wooden spoon for the under 26 nations?
Nope. First time ever as well. And you know the bit that's going to stick out worse? They beat us.
Ah, now the rock bottom.
They're rock bottom. But
Love
and you know what it come down to? Bonus points. We got three, they got two. Ha 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 ha.
bonus point. Very, very important.
So even when we lose, we'll keep it tight with you. Don't worry about that. But yeah, the under 20s, there's a lot of talent coming through. I'm not saying get them capped on the summer tour that you mentioned. Just bring them along for the ride.
Get some of them capped.
Well, Freddie Douglas is capped. I think people have already forgot that
Yeah.
Freddie Douglas is capped. Get Ruben Logan capped, please.
We've not announced who are playing yet. We know the Maori All Blacks are there. So
Yeah.
the chances are we're probably going to go Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, or something like that. So look, if we're playing Samoa and Tonga away, you could cap a lot of them. They're like they get them their first cap, get them tied to Scotland because look,
Also,
you never know where they're going to go after this. But if they've
true.
got a cap, at least for the next 5 years at least, even if they don't play again, they're tied to Scotland.
I mean, you don't get much more physical for your first cap than Fiji away either. So,
Yeah, I didn't think that's a bit of a bruising playing
mm,
away to the Islanders. They're going to be some big boys.
a character building that.
Hmm.
I'm going to stick with Scotland. It's
Yeah.
actually very heavily Scotland this week because this weekend coming, we're straight back in. The Women's Six Nations begins, and I, for one, cannot wait. It is a World Cup year. Apart from the top, because England is just so far ahead in the women's game. Like even like I know you love your power rankings.
Uh-huh.
I dare you to try and sort out the women's rankings because I believe in the men's rankings there's like 2 points between one and two.
Uh-huh.
There's eight between one and two for the women's game.
It's yeah. England are so much better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Uh, I wish at one stage, if I get a calculator working for it, I would do a power rankings for the women's game. But right
Mm.
now, I can't. Me and Dave are trying to work on a calculator for it that'll do it automatically. So we just have to input the scores, but it's still not doing it.
Not there.
Eventually, if I do get it right, I will do a club version of the power rankings, and I'm also going to do a women's version of the
Okay.
power rankings
Okay.
as well.
Just because, yeah, the gap between England and the rest of everyone else. So it's like there's like three tiers in the one, basically.
Uh-huh.
Especially in the Six Nations. I think England, France are in right now. They're in their own little tier because they used to go par for par with England, but recently England have just
Yeah.
smashed them aside. And then there's the rest of us. There's Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Italy, and now they're all great games. If you've never watched women's rugby, they're the ones I'd suggest you watch.
My understanding of it isn't Scotland marginally better. I'm not sure about Italy than Wales and Ireland. I know there's not a huge bit in it, but aren't they? Scotland be the favourites going into outside of
I
France or England.
I think we can get third this year, and I think because of what happened last year, we're going to really push for it. So last year was essentially like qualification.
Uh huh.
Now, final game, Ireland, Scotland. So the fixtures run the same as the men.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're Wales will come up to us, we're away to England this year, da da da. And last year it was a battle for third, and they were going to get the last like automatic spot
Mm-hmm.
or for the Rugby World Cup, and Ireland won it, so they went through. And I think the girls are going to want to really clamp down on that. They're going to be eyeing up that, especially that because that last year that Ireland have done, it's not
Yeah.
good. They beat the Black Ferns. Ireland beat the Black Ferns this year. They matched Canada. They got
Mm-hmm.
so and Scotland lost their WXV2 title. So it's going to be interesting. Wales is a really tricky one to point out this year because I feel like now is our best time to take the win against Wales again because
Mm-hmm.
come the World Cup, they've already announced it. They're taking on I forgot his name, but they're taking on the head coach who's just won his third title on the bounce in the Premiership women's Premiership at Gloucester Harbour. He is taking over for Wales for the World Cup, and I'm like, no. So I'm like, right, beat them now and leave them because we're oh no, they're in our group as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot. The women's rugby is great. I love it. I'll be there on Saturday. Loud and proud at the Hive, Scotland versus
One of
Wales.
these things I need to watch more of. It's like I feel quite bad. I don't watch that much women's rugby at all, and a lot of it is I don't even watch enough of the men's rugby that I'd like to watch. It's trying to find
Yeah, yeah, I
time
get
to
you.
put my. I don't watch all the URC games and the Premiership games as it is that I'd like to see. But
No, I get you.
I suppose with the Six Nations, that's one I could probably make an exception for. So look, I probably realistically couldn't commit to women's rugby for the club game, not for the foreseeable future anyway, or unless I suddenly got a lot more time on my hands. But
You'll probably
big
find that
internationals, yeah.
this is probably the easiest year to watch women's rugby. Six Nations is this weekend, and then you've got the World Cup, and it's in England. You don't even have to get up early to watch the games. I was actually going to
The,
see if you fancy going to a few games because there's a double header. I think it's Manchester. You've got Scotland versus Wales, and then you've got Australia versus Fiji on the same day, same stadium, and it's £10 a ticket.
that's mad.
That's mental. What are we
You
waiting
picking
for?
up the new car,
Road
picking
trip?
up, picking up my new SUV on a Wednesday. That'd be a good
Yeah, boy.
road trip to bring it down for.
There we go. Or we could just use my old mobile again and just hope for the best.
Or
Yeah.
we risk
But
going down in my crappy little Honda that I've no scratch
no,
yet.
my one. Mine's isn't
Uh,
too bad. Mine will get us there, but there will be an issue coming home probably. No,
maybe.
my one. Anyway, yeah, women's rugby. You need to watch it, and because it's not the same as men's. And I know that sounds really stupid. It's faster. There's less kick tennis.
Mm-hmm. And well,
Fullbacks
I
in
think
women's rugby. Fullbacks in women's
the
rugby isn't scared to go. Come on then, I'll run at you.
yeah, I mean, with the different sort of shapes, naturally, the players between a man and a woman, they're going to inspire different tactics to play the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to play the same way as the men do. I don't think they ever will. So, but if it's faster, everyone everyone loves a fast game.
But also, and this is more just a Scottish standpoint, you love your big back rowers.
Yep.
Back row is huge. And I don't mean fat before anyone tries to come at me. Like these
Mhm.
girls will ragdoll you for 80 minutes. We've got Rachel McLaughlin, who used to do judo before she did rugby. So she knows how to do takedowns and like just turnovers for days. You've got Rachel Malcolm, who is like an absolute warrior on the pitch and a leader that anyone would go into battle for. You've got Evie Gallagher, they got to the semi final this year with Bristol Bears, who's just an absolute tank and she'll just run through you and not even stop for a tea break. You've got Jade Conkle Roberts, who is Harlequins captain, again, another semi finalist this year, and is also a firefighter.
Badass.
Badass, yeah. Very soft spoken. She's a very lovely person off the field, and I have joked with her about that. That like, I was scared to interview her because of her presence on the field. And then
Hmm.
after the game, she's like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "What happened there?" Yeah. And then you've got pace for days on the wings. Francesca McGee, who has like an outrageous try to cap ratio. Rona Lloyd is one of the faces of Scottish rugby. She's been on the Sevens circuit with Team GB a couple of times. Yeah. And she carves it up in Bordeaux. She plays women's top 14. She's absolutely outstanding. Chloe Rowley,
Disappointing you said Bordeaux like Ronan O'Gara
Ronan O'Gara, Bordeaux.
there.
Uh,
So I was watching the clip of him speaking French yesterday.
Fair.
So
And I mean, if you like your electric fullbacks, you don't get much more electrified than Chloe Rowley.
mhm.
Even if you've never watched a game, just go and look at some highlight reels. The stuff she does, I'm like, oh my god, my
I'll
wee
definitely
pal.
be giving this Six Nations a watch. And
There
look,
we
if you
go.
like myself and you've never watched the Women's Six Nations, get into this time around. The women's game's getting bigger and bigger. It's not going anywhere. Um, so yeah, we all love a bit more rugby.
Won't be too
Talking
long before.
on rugby, I'm just going to move it along slightly because
Okay.
I am starting to run low on battery.
Oh,
So I'd hate for this to cut out halfway through.
okay.
Um, I'm going to circle back round to the men's team to do one more bit. We'll do
Okay.
almost like a little review, like a little breakdown, and then we'll ask the question that's going around the media as well. Again, I know you don't like talking about it awful much, but
Oh, should Johnny Matthews be in the Scotland team? No. Was that the question?
that's no, it's not the
Oh,
question, Johnny Matthews.
sorry.
Right, okay, so this campaign, if you have to break it down, so we got that win to Italy in the opening day. I can't remember. It was like I think we won by about 19 points, right? It wasn't. People were calling it a disaster, and I said, look, I didn't see what the problem was. I thought, wasn't a fantastic win, wasn't a bad win either. It was thereabouts what it should be.
We had a 10-minute blip.
Well, no, they took a couple of penalties that were well taken by Thomas
And
Lally
no,
because he's a fantastic kicker,
yeah,
and
but
they got
yeah,
an empty. That was it.
but that's what I'm saying. The penalty kicks that Tomas Allen were doing, nobody flinched. Nobody was like, "Oh, here we go again." It was like, "Okay, they're just taking the point because we're not going to give them any
Yeah,
opportunities." And it just so happened when Brex got the interception, they were only within seven of us,
yeah.
and that's
So
when everyone's like, "Oh no!" But then after that, we turned it, we fixed it, we dug ourselves out of the mess, which historically Scotland don't do. So that is a big bonus in my eyes.
okay, yeah. So like, I thought it was a good game. Then also we've got the Ireland game afterwards, which was for me the most disappointing game of the campaign. I think it was the only game that we just didn't turn up.
Yeah,
It
looking
felt like
back,
we were
yeah,
defeated before we walked out on the park. So that one, I call it a write off. I think there's a psychological problem when it comes to Scotland when they play Ireland. I don't know how they're going to overcome it.
it was a bad day at the office, without a shadow of a doubt. But also,
11th
and
in a
it
row.
wasn't just, everything that could go wrong for us did.
Yep.
No one that even if you're really good with like predictions and quite good at betting and everything, no one could have predicted that not only will Scotland lose Finn Russell and Darcy Graham, they're going to clash heads against each other and take each other out of the game. No one
Hmm.
has that written. No one in their right mind has that written down. And
No.
again, as we've discussed earlier, the minute you lose Finn Russell, you lose your shape.
Yep.
And again,
Think he should.
that's not Tom Jordan's fault. Tom Jordan's is great. But
Yep.
when you're like, right, okay, I'm playing 12, and then they go, Ben's not coming back, you're like, oh no, I'm now a 10. I now need to make the decisions.
Hmm.
Whereas 10 minutes prior, Finn would be like, right, we're doing this. And Tom's like, cool, got you.
Yeah. So we travelled into Twickenham next to play England, and we lose by a point, which is
Hmm.
probably the most painful game of the campaign.
Well, it's all Finn Russell's fault. It's not. It's really not. I'm just being a prat at this point because that's all the comments are.
It was we were outmuscled at the game. It was the amount of time we spent at the 22 in England were just. I was well, also you knew I was there, but
Yeah.
I remember that I stood in Twickenham and just watching England drive us backwards. They drive us from the 5 meter line back to the 22 within 5 or 6 tackles.
But there was
Um,
bits like that for some reason at the time was kicking up fuss, but there was genuinely nothing wrong with it. And he's actually, and kind of pains me to say this, he's had an outstanding campaign. See, when Maro told you was doing those big, massive turnovers, they are
mm,
perfectly legal. We didn't have anyone protecting the ball. That's our fault. That's
it's
you. There's like the clip of it that went viral when Maro told you was like straight up and over, and his legs are practically straight, and he kind of looks like a Great Dane, just right because he's. And you see Dave Cherry standing at the side, like, what's going on? I'm like, get in.
And well, I've said this before. When we're losing breakdown battles, Scotland have this habit of going, sir, look what they're doing, instead of
Yeah,
just getting sorting it,
just get
just
in.
hoping that the referee's going to blow the whistle. As it, oh, it's my pet hate that, and when you're clearly losing the battle on the floor and the scrum half refuses to get the ball out, they're my two pet hates in rugby.
Mm.
You're clearly losing this. The scrum half just needs to get going and get it out of there
Yeah.
ASAP.
Soon the ref says use it now. Just do as you're told.
Yeah. Wales, we were both there at Murrayfield. We had a fantastic first half and then capitulated in the second half.
Because we took Finos off. You see,
Yeah.
you see the point I'm making here. I'm not. I'm trying to not say we are relying on like key players, but we've already lost. We already lost. We had 8 players out of our strongest match day 23 not play for us this campaign.
Yeah. We went through this before we go on air. So just for you guys listening at home, to give you an idea of the 8 players we're missing, Dylan Richardson.
Hmm. Would be
Um,
wait. I'll even say where they would be in the match day 23 just for probably on the bench.
for me, I think Richardson would have started actually, and I think
Now,
Cherry would have
yeah,
been on the bench.
looking back now, but Dave Cherry didn't do bad. So I would for all just for now, I'd say Richardson on the bench.
Yeah. Okay. You had both our starting locks. You had Max Williamson and Scott Cummings both out. They would have
See,
started.
I don't think Max Williamson's a starting lock, but I'll definitely have him coming off the bench because he adds a bit of oomph and yeah.
He's a guy. He's a big unit, and he's powerful as well. He's abrasive. Um, you had Andy Christie,
Andy
who
Griffith was touted for being a Lion last Six Nations because of his performances, and
yeah,
obviously, also, can we talk about him quickly now that that's like the most miraculous recovery of the season? So in October, he broke his ankle really, really badly. Yeah, yeah, I said it to you that his toes were where his heels were meant to be.
yeah,
So that's like a end of season, potentially end of career. Yeah, he played it on Friday night against Edinburgh.
yeah. So he's such a
Sorry.
good player. For
Uh-huh.
me, Andy Christie starts in a like a fully stacked back row, like I can see, going forward. Let's just say it wasn't Thames and it was someone else. I could see a world where Andy Christie starts at 6. You've got like Ben Muncaster at 7, and then Matt Fagerson at number 8. Like I can see something like that.
Andy Christie, Ruben Logan, Ben Muncaster.
Oh,
That was
there's
massive.
that grow.
That's massive.
Yeah,
Some, yeah,
that's huge.
there you go.
So hold on. So we're on Dylan Richardson,
Dylan
Cummings,
Richardson, Cummings,
Williamson,
Williamson,
Andy
Christie,
Christie,
Josh Bayliss.
yeah, Josh Bayless.
Again, we were touting him in the autumn, how good he's been and how much we'd love to see him
Yeah,
start. And then he got injured the week before the Six Nations because there's a pet hate of mine that, oh, the Premiership clubs are the ones that pay their wages. Yeah, but you don't need them that week. You just don't. And do you know how
mhm,
you know that? The Prem Cup shows fine well you do not need the likes of Josh Bayliss.
yeah.
Bath won the
This
Prem Cup today, beating my beloved Exeter Chiefs, smashing them 48-12 with none of the big boys.
look. This is why Scotland needs another club side. Um, as much as people go, oh, we can't afford it. I don't think Scottish rugby, if it wants to keep improving, can afford not to have another pro side. Whether that's privately funded or it's funded through the SRU, they need to find a way to make it work because you get situations like that with some of these injuries from the players down in England, Andy Christie and Josh Bayliss and a couple others, where we've got no control over them. If they're under our system, you can manage them and say, look, Six Nations coming up. I only want him playing the month before every second game or something, or I want him to come off early the week
Yeah,
before the tournament. He
I
doesn't
mean,
play.
yes, injuries can happen at any time, but just you know what I mean. Like, use your head.
Yeah, you can manage them.
I genuinely believe, and I'm just going to touch on this before we go on to the next player.
Mhm.
See, the minute an international squad, a training squad comes out, you're not allowed to pick that player. That's my
Yeah,
rule. The minute they're in camp, they are not your player. Go away.
yeah. I wish it was put into their contracts. It's just, yeah,
No,
especially when we try to chat about player safety and everything like that, that
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
forcing them to play more games. It's just, in my opinion, it's not right. Um, and I know that Scotland are in a situation because they've only got two pro clubs in Scotland. They've got no choice but to farm out some of their other players just because they don't have the room to house every international at one of our two clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
As
and
nice
about
as it would be.
to our next player, Adam Hastings, obviously he wouldn't have started, but he would have been in that on the bench, I'd say.
Would have been on the bit. We're going 5-3, absolutely, yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, yeah, like Adam Hastings returned to camp before the France game. He wasn't going to play against France.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, the players that returned to camp, right? None of that. I don't think they were going to play just because you're too late in the campaign to switch things up now. They're not
Yeah.
match fit. And it's the same. If spoiler, Kyle Stain also there. Now we disagreed on if he started or if he was on the bench, but we both had Kyle Stain as an important part of our campaign pre Six Nations.
Yeah.
Uh, I think you had him on the bench and I had him as a starter.
Yeah.
But again, another one that was injured. And then, not to mention our captain, Sione Tuipulotu, who that was a huge.
Although, the I don't like wording it like this, but it'll make sense. The positive of losing Sione is Tom Jordan's a superstar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tom really
that's what,
stepped up.
yeah, and that's what you want from anyone.
Mhm.
But losing your captain, but even if he wasn't captain, Sione is a massive blow. The fact he was our captain, and we were like, here we go.
Mhm.
And again, it was a freak injury.
It
It
was.
wasn't in a game. It wasn't in a game. He was going like 40% in training,
Uh,
and it just happened to go twang.
That's a freak injury. But look, I don't think that Tom Jordan can keep that 12 shirt when Tui Pilotu comes back. Although he's not made it easy for whoever the coach is, and I'm going to get onto this in a minute. In the
Um,
autumn, he's
yeah,
not made it easy. He said, "Look,
yeah.
I'm a different type of player to Sayoni Tuipulotu. Um,
Hunger,
he's
what do you?
physical. He's a distributor.
Mm.
And I know Tuipulotu is all those things as well, but he does it in a different way.
Again, before anyone bashes me, I'm not talking about dropping Hugh Jones. I like Hugh Jones. He's been outstanding. He's going to be a British and Irish Lion. You
Uh-huh.
could, in theory, even for a one-off just to try it, you could have TJ at 12 and Sion in 13. Because Sion's done 13. He's very interchangeable.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm,
Well,
but I'm
we
not
have to
I'm not saying
experiment with that in the future though, because Hugh Jones, how old is he now? He's 30 something.
30, 31. I don't think he's over that. And again, while Dan's looking this up, I'm not saying drop Hugh Jones. Hugh Jones was one of our best players this campaign. He is going to be a Lion, like I've just said. I'm just saying for depth and for expansion, it wouldn't hurt to tweak things. You could even do like, I don't know, Rory Hutchinson and Hugh Jones. That would also work. And it
Mm-hmm.
gives you a different option at midfield. So there you go.
Yeah. So you do need to start experimenting at the centre because Hugh Jones is 31, right? So the reality is, after the next World Cup, he's probably not going to be part of Scotland's squad. And I know there's one of our listeners who thinks I've got it in for Hugh Jones, but I really don't. Um, I think he's a phenomenal player, but backs, once they get past 32, once the pace starts going in your leg, it's cruel. You just go down the pecking order real quick. So he'll be really important. I think he'll has one more year, I reckon, in him at this level, and he might be mentally a better player, but physically he'll start to decline after about a year or so. So it wouldn't be the worst idea to swap it up.
You're going to get so much hate for that one.
Yeah, I know, I am. But look, it's the truth. What's that guy, the Liverpool guy? I don't speak in riddles. I speak in absolutes.
I don't do if buts or maybe I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't do if buts and maybes. I do absolutes. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then just to round out our campaign we had last night in Paris. Now, look, our other two losses to Ireland and England hurt me more than our defeat in Paris. Like Ireland, we just didn't turn up. England was a game where we lost, where I felt like we should have won. With the
Mm-hmm.
France game, I just think we were beaten by the better side.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even need to say it. Go back. Go back to the start of the episode. We already said how we felt about losing to France.
I couldn't remember when we were chatting off air for about half
No,
an
no,
hour.
we did
That
mention it.
I can't remember if I said that on air or not.
No, you did. It's all good.
Okay, so with all that in mind, we've got all of Townsend's injury crisis that he had. Um, it's also his eighth Six Nations in charge, so he's had a big crack at it. BBC, I was listening to their podcast earlier, and they were talking about thinking that, not saying that he was a bad coach, they all acknowledge that Townsend's been a fantastic coach, he's been a fantastic servant for Scotland,
Mm.
but they think he's run his course now. Um, I have to be honest, I'm on the same boat as those. I think the same way. I'm very grateful for what Townsend's done for Scotland, but
Mm-hmm.
he's had 8 runs at it now. And I
Um.
feel like even the games we lose, right? There's a lot of good things in it. We show flashes, we show glimpses, and it feels like we just need something tweaked to push us through that final moment. We need our, you know, ceiling glass breaking moment. Ireland's was when they beat the All Blacks for the first time in Chicago. I feel like Scotland just need that one bit. But I think a lot of Townsend's faults, his penalty count, the way he plays in 80-minute performances, set pieces. We've been talking about these for years, and they don't seem to get fixed. So for me, with the group of players that we've got, thank you very much. Wish them all the best in the future. But for me, is races run now. I'm not sure where you stand on it.
I don't know anymore. And I'm not trying to avoid that question. It's like I am beyond grateful for what Gregor Townsend's done. He's been our best, I will say, he's been our best coach since Sir Ian McGeechan. By a fair bit, to be honest, when you look at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, and again, I've never been a Townsend out guy. I've actually been a very much Townsend stay
Yeah.
person for the
One
most
thing
part.
I disagree on has been this.
I think if it was to be announced during the week, the Scottish Rugby was like, right, Gregor Townsend will no longer be Scotland head coach. Our replacement will be announced in due course.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be upset because I would understand why they've got rid of him,
Yeah.
but I'm also not like I'm not one, and I will call them Muppets online because that's all they are. That my favorite player didn't get picked. Wait. Townsend out. That's not a reason. I say this every week. That is not a reason to get rid of a head coach. When you're losing game after game after game and nothing's happened, like Wales, when Warren Gatland had them in the absolute meat grinder, you need to go. Steve Borthwick's job was hanging by a thread. He beat Italy comfortably, and people were still wanting him gone. Yet they batter Wales. Steve can stay. We were this close to winning the Six Nations. Oh, but so
So yeah,
what?
I think there's two Six Nations that we under Townsend that we could have won. But let me just quickly go through his record. 2018, we finished third, his first season in charge. 2019, fifth. 2020, fourth. 2021, fourth. 2022, fourth. 2023, we finished third. 2024, we finished fourth. 2025, we finished fourth again.
2021 was the weirdest one because we were one tap tackle away from winning the thing. That's how close that one was.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like I've said, I personally I wouldn't get rid of him because I'm just like he's 1 year left on his contract, and I'm kind of just thinking, how bad could it get in a year? I know that sounds stupid because
Well,
it could
I
go
don't
wrong
want
real fast. I know
to.
I know.
I don't want to
But it
take the
could
risk of
also,
finishing fourth again. No.
but it could also just be, well, what if? And again, who knows? I don't know the future. What if that was the year he got it right? Because last dance, he knew it was his last dance as well.
But
If he
once you
knew,
get to his nine Six Nations, you go, oh, do you know what? Give him his 10th. My counter
I don't
argument
know.
to that is his contract runs out next year, right?
They all
Which
do.
is 1 year before a World Cup. If you, I think Scottish Rugby need to make the decision now. If they're going to keep
Oh,
Townsend, stick
probably,
with
yeah.
him until the World Cup. But if you're going to swap, you need to give a new manager adequate time to get his ducks in
No,
a
no,
row.
that's it. I totally agree with that because, and again, that's more down to just how negotiations go because his contract was meant to be done at the end of the World Cup. And they signed an extension because we're like, actually, we're not that far off. We want you to stay. And it's just kind of stagnant, really. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like I don't think we're getting worse, but
I
we've
know, I know, I know.
good, but it's just the other teams around us are
So,
getting better. Like
right.
England are, they're not great, but they've definitely made a couple of steps forward. Italy have made loads of
No.
steps forward. They're just lacking confidence. Okay, Wales have gone backwards, but yeah, we've sort of plateaued, but we've been
Mm.
for what, one, two, well, for the last eight Six Nations, you
Mm.
know, we've stayed at the same level. We had two, one where we jumped up a little bit and one where we went down a bit, but other than that, we seem to be constantly at this same level.
Okay. So, like I said, if Scottish Rugby were to go, it's not working. We're getting rid of Townsend. It'll be a new coach for the summer.
Uh-huh.
I totally understand why they've done it now,
Hmm.
and I'm not against it.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be all up in arms about it. I also wouldn't be up in arms if he stayed. That's
So,
genuinely my feelings. I'm not playing devil's advocate. That's genuinely my feelings. I don't have like me and Dan talk about this probably on a day-to-day basis. I'm not a Townsend out person. I don't. I honestly don't think that's going to change. And this, and even like, let's just say he stays till his contract runs out. Me being a Townsend out is going to take a mammoth task for me to go get out.
another fourth and the Six Nations, another World Cup group stage exits.
Well, no, because he won't be at the World Cup because his contract's in 26.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, if he lasts until 2026,
No, I
you know,
know. They
I don't
probably
think
would.
there's enough time for a new coach to hit the ground running. And also, I think that 2 years in any, sorry, 8 years in charge of any
Well,
team as a
what is
head
all on
coach
time?
is probably too long.
Is all on time. But I mean, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, look at Eddie Jones.
Yeah, I think 6 years is probably the optimum time for a head coach for a national side. Like you bring them in halfway through a World Cup cycle, they get to build it, they get, you know, a crack at World Cup, and then they get one full cycle to go, and then at the end of that full cycle they go. So like even if the next coach they brought in was good,
Hmm.
I wouldn't want the next Scotland coach to have any more than 6 years in charge. Um,
Okay.
that,
So,
that unless we were sort of somehow picked up, three Six Nations titles in that time, and we made a World Cup semi-final or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Unless it
no, I
was
know.
stupid. But if we were just in the 6 years we got one Six Nations and a quarterfinal, two quarterfinals of the World Cup. Cool, you've been good.
So in Ireland then.
Yeah, and Ireland.
Okay.
So,
So
so
who,
you've not
who's coming in then?
changed. Am I sorry?
Who's coming in? Who's going to be the coach?
For
'Cause-
me, also the obvious contender is Franco Smith. I think
okay.
the way that he's been after games, he's not going to be at Glasgow next season, regardless. Even if we keep Townsend, Franco Smith isn't going to be at Glasgow next season. So, do we lose Franco Smith to a rival, or do we give him the top job in Scotland? That's basically the way that I see it. Because if we don't, we're like, okay, we're keeping Townsend, but we don't have full faith in him. It's like, oh, I'll give you one more year, see how you do, but this is your really last chance saloon this time. And we
Hmm.
have to replace, the Glasgow head coach, who we know is a really good head coach,
See,
regardless.
there's
And
just a bit. I am agreeing that Franco Smith makes the most obvious choice because of how Scottish rugby's like always done things. Of well, who's doing better out of the two clubs? They're our next guy because that's how Townsend got the job.
yep.
So it does work. And before that, Andy Robinson and Frank Hadden, regardless of how they did at Scotland coach, they were doing well at Edinburgh. That's why they got the job.
Hmm.
But there's just a bit in the back of my head that, like, yes, yeah, Franco Smith ticks all the boxes. He's in the system. He's got Glasgow winning titles. There's just a bit in my head that I'm like, it's not going to be Franco Smith. It's going to be Leon McDonald. And I feel like I'm the only one that mentions his name.
Yeah, you are.
That's fine. By the way, if that does come off, I look like a right genius if that comes off. But just like you're on about like how Ireland got one win against All Blacks and everything just started going. How poetic would it be if, let's just say, Leon McDonald is appointed the Scotland head coach? We've got the All Blacks come into Murrayfield in the autumn. Now, for those who don't know, he was Scott Robertson's right-hand man during last year's Rugby Championship, and then 2 rounds in, left. There was a big disagreement. It was quite public that something that they just were not on the same path. I don't know if it was an argument or just down to tactics, but they parted ways. How great would it be if Leon McDonald's our boss, Razors All Blacks come to town and we win because then you then go, oh wait, Leon McDonald's tactics were the ones that worked. And then that starts then pointing the finger at Scott Robertson as well. I just think that's just too good to not happen.
I think there'll be a new coach bounce if we do move. Like you said, Leo McDonald. I joked about and said, "Why don't we just go for Scott Robertson?"
Scott, you said Steve Hansen as well. You went just yeah. Would Ian Foster work? Just because we're mentioning All Blacks coaches, would Ian Foster do a good job?
He could do. Where's he now? In Foster.
Japan. I think. They're in Japan. But yeah, I just think there's just I can't even explain it, but there's just something in the back of my mind that I'm like, Franco Smith's either going to stay at Glasgow,
yeah,
or he's going to leave Glasgow, but not for the Scotland job. I'm not saying he's taking the Wales job. I don't know where he's going to go. He's either going to stay with Glasgow or he's going to leave. And
so
I would just be like, and I'm just got like, the more I say it, I'm like, I kind of want Liam McDonald. There's a bit, and I think it's just because I'm genuinely the only person saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have to hammer it home.
Yeah. I'm sort of more leaning towards, if it's not Franco, I'd like to see Ronan O'Gara. Would be sort of my second choice. Although one name I have seen popping up on my comment sections, and I don't know how I'd feel about this. One or two people said Danny Wilson.
No, 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 absolutely not. Who said that?
I don't remember. It's just some guy in my comments.
No, Christ. You may as well just get Sean Everett at that point. No, don't do
that. Sean Everett.
Right. No, don't do that.
That'd be a tough one. Okay, so look, let's go. We'll leave it there. We hope it'd be rather Franco Smith, Leo McDonald, or Ronan O'Gara then. One of those three, preferably.
Pretty much.
Which I think is sort of doable.
Michael Cheika.
I'm not a huge fan of Cheika.
He's got a decent rate wherever he goes. It's one of them. I'm like, I don't know if he would fit.
No, I don't think he would.
Dave Rennie came up. His name came up a few years ago. And I'm like, maybe. I mean, he did coach Glasgow as well, so he knows the system.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what Dave Rennie's been doing since
he got sacked. I didn't mean to say Danny Wilson. I meant to say Dave Rennie. I don't know why I got the faces and names mixed up in my head. That's no. So scrap that. I didn't mean Danny Wilson. Dave Rennie's who I meant to say.
I was going to say Dave Rennie is such a better option
than Danny Wilson. Sorry, that's who I meant to say. Yeah.
But yeah, no, our top three is still Franco Smith, Leon McDonald, and Ronan O'Gara.
Yeah. And hopefully, if you swap to one of them, you imagine, every player got their own coaching style. Like we've chatted about what players we would call up to the squads if it was up to us, and we both got different views. I think you mix it up a bit, one or two players that, Townsend never looked at. And it's not a bad thing, they're just not Townsend players. Like, let's just say if Franco Smith came in, there'll be one or two players of Townsend's that Franco would be like, they're just not my type of player. And that's fine.
I already know if Franco Smith gets the job, who the first call-up is.
Well, this will put that argument to bed, right? If Franco Smith got the job and Franco Smith didn't call up Johnny Matthews, then people can shut up about it.
Then I was right, yeah.
Well, look, you've accepted it. If I remember correctly, before Townsend announced his Scotland squad, you and
Yeah,
I
I did have it.
had Johnny Matthews in it.
Yeah, because I'm a person on. I'm still am. I would rather have on form than name value.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd much rather have Johnny Matthews than Ashman.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't have him above Cherry or Richardson at the moment, but I'd have him above Ashman.
would you have him over Harrison though?
As a player, right now he's a better player than Harrison, but Harrison's got a higher ceiling, a much higher ceiling. So it's weird. It depends on the game. If it was just
Mhm.
straight up a Six Nations game, I'd probably put in Johnny Matthews. But if it was, like a summer or an autumn test, I would drop in a Harrison for the experience.
Okay, fair enough. Although
Um,
that would be very interesting if Franco Smith. Like here's your Autumn Nation squad, and there's no Johnny Matthews, and you're just like, nah.
so yeah, although I reckon he would be called up because if Franco Smith didn't rate Johnny Matthews, he'd have brought in another hooker to Glasgow by now.
It would be funny though if he genuinely come up with like he's not my kind of player. Sorry, what? What do you
This is
mean?
good enough to rise from me.
Anyway,
Right, okay, just
so
because I'm very aware of how much battery I've got left.
quick
Let
URC prediction because the URC returns this weekend. I'm not going to in depth because there's not going to be anyone playing. Really, like all the boys will have.
You might find that Hastings and Stain might play for Glasgow.
They don't count. They didn't play for Scotland,
Yeah, but they are big internationals. So
but they didn't play, so they're not big internationals. They didn't do anything.
you ready for war?
They've dropped the ball. We said this during the week that a game like Glasgow and Munster the week after the Six Nations, so no one's playing. You've
Yeah.
dropped the ball there.
The biggest cross-border rivalry in the URC. Now, before people start commenting that, I'm not saying it's the biggest rivalry in the URC. Everyone's got the local derby in that, but when it comes to a cross-border rivalry in the URC, the Glasgow Munster one, it's been one of my favourite fixtures of the URC calendar. I was quite annoyed when I looked at the fixtures at the start of the season and saw that's where it was. It's just
Okay.
from a marketing perspective and as a spectacle for the fans, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And
I mean,
before we even go,
there's a
right,
sellout.
I despise the fact that the URC is played between the internationals before and afterwards. Just bite the bullet and have a Celtic Cup or a URC Cup. Bring back the Rainbow Cup, right? Look, I get it. We're not going to include the South Africans in it because travel wise, for a minor competition, it's not going to be worth it. But you have to have some sort of cup competition. Bring up the Rainbow Cup, and you would play it, just before and just after the autumn. And the Six Nations, you play it just before and just after the Six Nations, and you'd play it in the fallow weeks as well. And that means you're not going to have big, important league games with two playoff rivals going when they're basically Glasgow are going to be playing their C team and Munster are going to be playing their B team, or their A minus team because they don't get many call up Starland. Um, well, Leinster don't allow it, so.
No,
Um,
sure. For sure.
but the fact that you've got a big game like Glasgow versus Munster, that was the semi-finals of the URC last year, and you're having
Yeah.
them play when there's no internationals. And like when it comes to playoff time, that game is going to be so important. The result of that, I just think it's bad on so many levels. Fans want more games. We want to see more development. Just put in a cup competition and let the URC return 2 weeks after the Six Nations is over.
Yeah. Not hard. It's
Okay, there
really
we
not
go.
that difficult.
Glasgow versus Munster. We're both predictions for that one.
Glasgow.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Edinburgh beat Munster away in the last foul week. They have to come to Scotstoun.
True, true. Although Glasgow did lose at Scotstoun
That's only
to
because they didn't kick the
Bromley.
ball out. That was on them.
Yeah, I put Glasgow as well. Okay, so and then we'll do this one, then we'll finish it off. We've got Edinburgh are travelling away to Benetton, and I don't know what's happened to Edinburgh the last couple of weeks, but it feels like, and touch wood here, it feels like something's clicked with Edinburgh recently.
We're right up
The
for it. I mean, yeah, because like we haven't mentioned it, but Edinburgh played a developmental friendly on Friday night against Saracens, and Saracens obviously didn't get the memo of it being a developmental game and went full go. Like I'm talking Lucio Sinte, Theo McFarland, Andy Christie, Fergus Burke, Ivan Van Zyl, Tobias Elliott, Aroni Maui. They were all playing against this and it's not even that they were young lads that aren't with the Scotland under 20s because the under 20s were playing that night as well.
yeah,
This is like the ones that they're either too old or really young,
yeah,
and we still what was it 52-48 or something like that.
it was something mental like that.
Yes, Saracens won, but to push, yeah,
552 or
there
something.
was like I can't remember his name, and I do apologise. There was a lad on the wing for Edinburgh scored a hat trick against Saracens, and he's not even one of our players. He plays for Stirling County. Yeah, I'm signed. So, like, am I missing something here? But yeah, Edinburgh's away to Benetton, and I think the boys have been circling that fixture because of what happened last year and how it went down last year, because that was an embarrassment on the last day of the regular season last year when we just didn't show up, and Benetton definitely did.
We had our squad for that game was our front three was Robin Hislop, Harry
Mhm.
Morris, Gavin Sebastian. At
Okay.
lock we had Rob Carmichael and Glenn Young.
Okay.
We
Okay.
had our back row was Ewan McVie,
You and
Liam Mc,
McVie.
and Tom Curry.
So they're
Charlie
all so they were all under 20 boys in the summer.
yep, Charlie Shield was our captain. Yeah, Hammy Scott was playing 10.
Cameron Scott's great. I love Cameron Scott.
We had Finley Thompson and Mark Bennett in midfield. And our
So,
back three was Ross McKnight,
that's it.
Sam Lewini, and Ross McCann. Oh,
Yeah, Ross McWright was the lad from Stirling County that scored a hat trick against Saracens. He is not even one of ours.
they're on the bench. It didn't say Blythe Lafferty was in the
Yeah,
16 shirt.
yeah, Jerry Blythe, always big brother again, former Scotland under 20, fantastic. He is going to be class.
We only had six players on the bench. We couldn't even fill the bench. Blythe Lafferty, we had Jones at 17, Williams at 18. It's really small. Hasdell at 19, McCapline at 21, and Sheedon at 22. Let me open
Mhm.
that to full screen.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we only had 22.
we didn't
Mental.
even play two Two Junior. And yeah, and then I'm looking at the Saracens squad. It is, yeah, you're right. You've got Tobias Elliott, Lazowski's playing, Burke's playing, Theo McFarland, Harry Wilson. Just,
Yeah,
yeah.
mental. And they barely beat us, and it was a very high scoring game. So
They
yeah, it's
also got 14 subs. They had 14 players on the bench,
that's what you do in friendlies. That's what you're meant to do in friendlies anyway. Not
even though you're allowed to do that.
yeah, you can do that in friendlies.
Absolutely
They
mental.
use the preseason games. You get here's your first half team and here's your second half team.
I have 5% left on my
That's
battery.
fine.
So,
Um,
four
Edinburgh's
predictions
going to
for
win on the
Benetton versus Edinburgh.
yeah. Edinburgh's going to win because there's no Italian players.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to say that. I am more actually. I'm probably more confident of an Edinburgh win than I am of a Glasgow win this weekend because
Probably,
Glasgow
yeah.
aren't going to have any of their Scottish players, and Munster are going to be basically full whack or almost full whack. They're not going to have O'Mahony, Murray, Crowley.
No.
Yeah, would they have Nash? I don't think Nash had played
Yeah.
enough. They'll probably
Yeah,
have
we
that.
have that. Yeah. It's going to be
Yeah,
interesting, though. But we'll be back next week. We've got Women's Six Nations to talk about and the return of the URC. And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channels. Dan is on TikTok at Rugby Ram. Give him a follow. If you like what I do, I'm also on TikTok at Boys for Rugby. Please follow me. If you like the page, Kettle Kickoffs on TikTok. We're also on Instagram. Follow us everywhere. Anywhere you see the word Kettle Kickoff and you see our faces linked to it, just yeah.
yeah. There's an old football page that's also called Kill to Kick Off. Don't follow them. I don't even know if they're still about.
Nah, we've worked out them. It's fine. Don't worry. Anyway, and we'll be back next week. Until then, enjoy the rugby, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.